Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Position to Impact podcast. And I am not going to overtalk this one because this episode is actually part one of a two-part topic. So we are talking about the impact of your feminine energy and how that stands for you as well as your brand and business. And so this is just part one, and this is in conjunction with my good friend and previous coach, Shaneil Stewart. And so Shaneil is an intuitive reinventionist. So basically, she helps entrepreneurs and influencers ditch burnout forever. She helps you pivot and reinvent your business or your brand with soul without losing your influence or your income. She is the creator of the Ultimate Burnout Cure, which you can find at theultimateburnoutcure.com. You can find her on Instagram at Shaneil Official, which is SHANEIL Official. You can find her there. And she is just an overall fantastic person to know. And so I can't wait for you to meet her here on this episode. So let's just go ahead and get started. Join the Impact Academy. Build a defined brand around your divine purpose. Overwhelm, stress, and frustration are so last year. Creating, building, and scaling a divinely given brand should not feel impossible. Everything is doable. This free online classroom platform is designed to give you all the tools needed to build an impactful brand that aligns your divine mission and messages so that you have the freedom, fulfillment, and the level of success you dream about. Join this free training academy. All the courses, e-guides, masterclasses, and checklists that you need to grow, build, and scale a divine-driven brand. These are all the lessons I have learned since starting my business in 2015, lessons that I researched for hours on multiple gurus' websites, hours of webinars, and paid thousands of dollars to learn from courses and private coaching all in one place. I wish it had all been in one place when I started and not felt like I was sacrificing my firstborn's college tuition. I'm telling you, you can shut down information overload, decision paralysis, and feelings of being trapped in an unfulfilled life now, simply by answering God's calling on your life. Build a brand around your purpose. Live the lifestyle you know God has given you visions for. Join the Impact Academy now for free at theimpactmentor.com/4impactqueens. That's FOR. theimpactmentor.com/4impactqueens. Learn to build purpose-driven and branded courses, learn social media marketing funnels, how to discover your purpose, and so much more, all for free. No catch. I'm serious. Join the Impact Academy now at www.theimpactmentor.com/4impactqueens.
You are now listening to the Position to Impact podcast with your host, the Impact Mentor, Alicia Ford. The podcast designed to inspire innovation and imagination that sparks change, conversation, and the desire to impact other people's lives. Whether you are a top-notch leader in your community or a savvy business owner on the go, this podcast is for you. Are you ready to build your legacy and impact the world? Then get ready, Impactors, to listen to today's inspiring message. It's time to position your impact in 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, everybody, we are back, and I have a very special guest for us today. Her name is Shaneil Stewart, is what I knew her as, but she is definitely married now. But because it's an Italian name, I'm going to butcher it, so I'm not going to try to say it. But I want to introduce you guys to Shaneil because she is very special to me. Not only is she a previous coach, but of mine. She is somebody that I have followed for years now. I've literally kind of stalked her entire online career, mostly her online career. I followed her from a platform called Anchor, and y'all have heard what Anchor is now, but Anchor used to be something completely different than it is now. And it was an online platform that actually allowed people to just kind of talk and build an audience just from talking and leaving audio. And at that time, you can only record like a minute at a time. And so it was very short. So you had to like say your thing and get out the way. And people could actually leave voicemail responses after that. So it was pretty cool. And so that's where I first love at first sight with Shaneil. And I just kind of followed her over to Facebook and all this other stuff and went down her rabbit hole of trainings and teachings, coaching and all this other stuff. And since then, that was like 3 years ago. So since then, I've again continued to social media stalk her and follow her and watch all her YouTube videos and watch her IGTVs and I've bought more courses from her. So like it's just something like when you find someone who you really admire and you see their path, you see their journey, you see how they grow, you feel like they are just a future version of yourself. Like you just kind of follow them. And I just naturally follow Shaneil. And so I was super excited when I reached out to her and asked her if she'd be on my podcast. And, you know, guys, y'all don't understand. She's bent over backwards to do this for me. So I'm really excited about it.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. I was like, yay.
Yay. So Shaneil, say hi to the people.
Hi, everybody. How are you guys doing? I'm so excited to be on this podcast. I've watched Alicia grow for years, and just to see her like being the powerhouse that she always had within her, just watching her step into all of who she's called to be. I'm just so blessed that I get to be a part of this journey, and I get to be a part of this process with her. So I'm excited.
Yay. So Shaneil, what I do with every last one of my guests before we get started is I always ask everybody, what is your definition of impact?
So when I think about impact, I don't know. When I think about impact, I think about power. I think the word I would use probably like transformation. But not just it's not just like a basic transformation. It's power. Can we use hyphen? Let's use like a powerful hyphen transformation. Yeah. So if I could give it one word, I would be like powerful hyphen transformation. I don't know. Well, Alicia knows my story, but like when I was 15 years old, my mom passed away, and I just remembered going to her funeral and watching busloads of people come to her funeral, and they would be like, Shaneil, your mom, she saved my life. I was going to commit suicide and she saved my life. Or like, they would be telling me all these things. And I honestly didn't know that my mom did those things. But what I left that funeral, of course, grieving my mom. But one of the things I left realizing was that, wow, one person, she was only 41 years old. But in that short space of time, she was able to touch so many people's lives. And I was just like, that's impact. Being able to transform, change, touch people's lives in a powerful way where your legacy lives on through them forever. You know what I mean? Like that moves on through them forever. So that's what I would say impact is. It's about leaving a powerful transformation in other people's lives where just by you having been in their lives would have changed. And I want to say change for the better, because you can have negative impact, but we want positive impact. So powerfully transforming people's lives to the point where even after you're gone, like the work you did with them or the change you helped inspire within them lives on for generations to come.
Fabulous. No, and I love that you told the story about your mom. I think that's fantastic for people to kind of connect to your definition of it. And that's what I love about Shaneil, guys, because she is an example queen. Like she can pull a story out of anything just to kind of solidify the point that she's trying to make. And so I hope you guys are going to get so many stories from her on this episode. So this is going to be awesome. So this episode, we are doing the impact of following your feminine intuition. And so this is something that I myself have been kind of waking up to and trying to understand what it means. And I say this from a spiritual standpoint of there's a reason why I was made a woman. And society is kind of conditioned, and I'm saying the word conditioned because we're going to get into that. We've been conditioned that being feminine was a bad thing, or being a woman is a bad thing, or it's wrong, or you have to hide being a woman.
Yeah.
It's not safe to be a woman. So you have to do things from a masculine standpoint in order to hide or to be accepted or to get what you want or to get where you want to be. And if you are using your feminine energy or your feminine power to get what you want, then it's something more on the sexual tip. It's more on the promiscuous side. And so, but the thing that women have an advantage of is intuition. We're just more connected to earth and energetic pieces, and we're designed that way. And so I want to be able to talk about why connecting to your intuition, your feminine intuition, is so important when, whether you're growing a brand, growing a ministry, writing a book, how those pieces are really going to connect to you or connect to other people through that. So Shaneil, let's start off by, can you tell us the difference between, I think you said it was
contracts and conditioning?
Yes. So what is the difference between those two?
Okay. So I'm going to answer that question about like the difference between contracts and conditioning. But I wanted to, when you were talking, I just felt led to share an example of why feminine energy and or intuition is actually very, very important and powerful. So if you think about, let's look at like flying. There was a time when human beings couldn't fly. And, we said, all right, let's make airplanes. So here comes the Wright brothers. They're like, yeah, we're going to make an airplane. So when they make the airplane is actually a physical structure. It is a masculine structure. However, before you could even put in place the masculine structure, the Wright brothers had to have an idea. Creativity, ideas, insights, these intuitive downloads, things like this are actually feminine in nature. They're creative. And if it is that you wanted to say, okay, now we're not going to just fly from one country to the next, you want to fly to another planet, right? Because now you have like SpaceX with Elon Musk, you have all these people going to space and whatever, going to the moon. Yes, they're creating a structure, but they needed to have the blueprint, which came from creativity, which came from intuition. And intuition is not rough or hard. It's very, very much open and expressive and innovative. And like, that's one of the powers of being a woman, because we are naturally inclined to have that kind of capability, right? And we and our intuition, is exactly what we use to grow to the next level as a society. Because if you think about it, if you try to fly an airplane to Mars, by the time it hit the outer stratosphere of this planet, it would disintegrate, it would burn, and it would die, right? It would be gone. And it's the same when we're trying to grow our businesses, we're trying to grow our ministry, we're trying to grow whatever we're growing, and all we're doing is hustling more. We're working harder, we're putting in more hours, we're trying to grind and trying to, like hard work, hustle. What happens is, just like that airplane trying to go to Mars, we're trying to get to the next level. Just like the airplane trying to go to Mars, we crash, we burn out, it fizzles and everything flops, everything falls to pieces. But when you're tuning into that intuitive place, that intuition, that creativity, you're coming up with new blueprints, new ideas. And I think like we can also equate this to like the voice of God, because your intuition is actually the voice of God speaking through you, right? That's what that is. It's that divine download that's coming to you of what needs to happen next. So we have to realize as women that we are responsible naturally for the progression of society. Just like in our bodies, we're the tools for growth of humankind, like babies are born through us and we're the nurturers. It's the same when it comes to any progressive ideas. It comes from that intuitive feminine place. Now, here's the thing about contracts and conditioning. Now, you're probably like, contracts and conditioning, what are you talking about? So what happens is, when you are created, right? When you were created, when you were born, God gave you a mission. He said, this beautiful soul here she's going to be a speaker. She's going to be an author. She's going to touch people's lives. She's going to talk about this. She's going to learn. She's going to have challenges in her relationships. And this is going to help her to help other people with their relationships, right? So that's what this woman learns, right? This is what God created, like this beautiful, powerful soul made in the image and likeness of God, powerful, magnificent. That is your contract. Your soul has a contract to fulfill that calling before you leave the planet. You are here for that reason. But here comes this beautiful, powerful soul, born into a family with a dad who is abusive, or a mom who, is not like an unattached mom, or, maybe they don't have, maybe didn't have resources, or maybe you heard that you were not good enough, or you were not pretty enough, or you were not smart enough. And all of a sudden, the beautiful, powerful contract, which says you are powerful, you are wonderful, you are amazing, you're going to be a superstar, you're incredible, like people love you. Now, all of a sudden, the conditioning, you're being conditioned to think, well, I'm not good enough. Well, that cousin is better, or that sibling is better, or, well, the teacher didn't like me, or that boy didn't like me, or whoever didn't approve of you. And now you're starting to believe all those lies. So what happens is that we have to realize the difference between our contract, or soul contract, and why we're here, and the conditioning that we're given of how we are actually being showing up right now. Because when we came here as a blank canvas, and we didn't even remember that we had a contract. Like, we were little babies, we just like, we're like, oh, bright-eyed, crying, happy to be here. But everything that we are today is a reflection of what we've been taught. How much of what you eat, how much of what you listen to, what you watch, what you believe, how much of that is actually truly a choice from you, or how much of it was actually grounded and rooted in your conditioning of what your parents believed. So like for me, I grew up in Jamaica. You may hear a little spicy Caribbean accent going on here because I'm from, but I grew up in a household where me and my cousins, we would pick the peppers and try to see who could eat the most hot peppers, right? Because we're like, hot pepper, who can handle eating the most? Now, I'm married to an Italian, and his conditioning is that he doesn't eat spicy food at all. So now, who taught
me and Carlos would get along?
But let's see. So where did you learn that spicy food isn't the tea, right? Where did you learn that spicy food is not it? And where did I learn that spicy food is life? You see, we learned that from somebody. And a lot of times, guys, it's not necessarily that your parents are saying, well, my daughter, you are to be poor, or, well, my son, you are to be invisible. Like, they're not taking out a manual and saying, hey, be invisible. What happens is we learn it by watching them. We learn it by our experiences. So if we were dancing and somebody said, stop it, all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I can't be seen. It's not safe to be seen. I can't be out there, or calm down, or children should be seen and not heard. Now you're wondering why you find it hard to do live streams, or to do your own podcast or your live events. Is because there's some conditioning there that the childhood version of you interpreted and took on as something that now defines who you are and how you see yourself. But that's not really who you are. Who you are comes from that contract. You were designed to be a legend and an icon, and to create impact in the world.
Guys, one of the things that I really love about Shaneil is that she truly believes that everybody is meant to be an icon and is meant to be a rock star. That was her thing. It was rock star, rock star, rock star. And I know there are people right now that might be pushing back on that idea. And we've been conditioned that not everybody is going, or should I say, let me put it like this. There always has to be a second place. Everybody can't be first. And there's always going to be someone last. But I want to make sure that everyone understands that we not only have we been conditioned to think that, but we've also been conditioned to think what is an actual icon. we've accepted what society says an icon is and what society says a rock star is, or living this fabulous life, and understand that you can be an icon in your community.
Yes.
You can be an icon within your customer base. There are tons of businesses out there that are making millions of dollars, but they're not recognizable like an Amazon. They're not recognizable like an Apple and a Google, but that doesn't mean that they're not making money. Shaneil was saying at one point that when she was starting, the people that she used to follow are the top gurus, like your Tony Robbins, your Lisa Nichols, your Gina DeVries. And it's not that I don't know who those people are. I do know who those people are. But when I came in, to me, they were untouchable. I was like, they're on a whole nother planet. So I'm not going to even attempt to try to follow them, because I'm like, they're like 15 million steps away from me. I need someone who's like, maybe like 5 steps away from me, and I can work towards it. And so, but in my journey, I realized that I was coming across people who I had never heard of before. They're not on the same level as these top people, but yet they are still making the amount of money, or they're living the lifestyle, or they have the freedom that I'm wanting, and they're not super highly known.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just put that out there, just in case somebody was having like a little twinge when she said, icon or rock star. Yeah.
Join the World Fam Patreons, where all the hashtag Impact Queens and Impact Kings live. Impact is about affecting change. You have the power to change someone's perspective, their direction, their confidence, and their circumstances, just from sharing what God gave you so naturally. I learned years ago that my greatest gift was my imagination. I want to teach women that they can be impactful in their family, their community, their business, their career, and their church by using their divine gifts and talents to create impact in the world. My mission is to encourage women to uplift themselves and give them the tools and resources needed to walk the path God has called them to walk. Thus, the Position to Impact podcast was born. Go to www.patreon, that's patreon.com/position to impact. Join the World Fam Patreon and you can get perks starting just at $5. You could be helping us pick topics for the show, get bonus Q&A monthly episodes that will only be for Patreons, get early access to hashtag Inspired Impact segments before they air on public sites, and get access to the paid crown level version of the Impact Academy. If you are a coach, mentor, consultant, author, digital products creator, or online influencer trying to grow a brand around your divine purpose, you can join the Royal Fam at the Duchess, Princess, or Queen level. Go to patreon.com/position to impact now to join us. You don't want to miss out on our secret link Sunday coffee chats. Join today. Turn clicks into customers. Build code-free websites with the power conversion of lead pages. Lead Pages helps small businesses connect with an audience, collect leads, and close sales. Easily build websites, landing pages, pop-ups, alert bars, and beyond. When I started my online business 5 years ago, I did not have a website. At the time, building a website was complicated and time-consuming, and I did not want to learn coding. Plus, paying someone to build it for me felt like buying a house. Let's just be real. But I knew I needed some place in the online world to send people and collect their email addresses. That is when I discovered Lead Pages. 5 years later, I still use Lead Pages. Let me tell you a behind-the-scenes secret. Ready? When I send my audience to theimpactmentor.com/podcast, that initial page is really a landing page from Lead Pages. I use Lead Pages for many other tools as well. Collect quality leads, sell products and services, engage your audience. Grow your email subscriber list with opt-in offers, instant digital file delivery, and targeted Facebook ads. Increase your revenue with high converting sales pages and built-in checkout powered by Stripe. And connect with your community by offering webinars, downloadable resources, and appointment scheduling. Sign up right now at www.leadpages.net/PIP.
Position Impact Podcast. And for all my Impact Kings and Queens and the Royal Fam Patreon listeners, only you will get 20% off your first month when you sign up at leadpages.net/PIP. Packages start as low as $19 per month. Trust me when I tell you, you can use Lead Pages for a variety of different projects. I have been with them for 5 years, and I do not see myself leaving anytime soon. So go over now to www.leadpages.net/PIP and get your 20% off discount now. Rock star. Yeah.
And I think I want to add too, for the persons who may have a concern about that. Like, I want you to remember, guys, that you're not in competition. It's not a competition, right? Like, you were given a calling, you were given a mission. It's not a race. It's like, you are not in a race. It's not a competition. You have a lane. And it's important, like, if you think about in the track and field world, or track and field, every athlete has a lane, right? But the difference is that when it comes to your calling and your mission and what you're here to do, you're not in competition with anyone. And when it's kind of like, if you think about your body, your heart is not in competition with your brain. It's all working together. Your nose is not like, well, I'm better than the eyes. No, like, it all works together. And so if you realize that, like, you can be an iconic eye because maybe you have, the discernment, and maybe you have the sight in your industry. But then maybe Alicia is going to be like the most iconic heart because she feels her people and she feels that impact. Or, maybe I'm going to be like the mouth because I'm the like chatty one that's going to be like talking and shouting, like, you know what I mean? Like, every person has a role. And we're all here. And we also have to remember, the reason I said we're not in competition is because I'm not the only person who talks about what I talk about. Alicia is not the only person who talks about what she talks about. But some of you listening here would never, ever in a million years click on the link or watch the video or the audio or the podcast of some of the other people, because you're not their tribe, and they're not they just don't vibe with you, right? So everybody is gonna have their tribe. Everybody's gonna have their audience. It's like, there's a reason every country has a president. They don't all make the best decisions, but there's a reason every country has a president. The president of the UK and the president of Prime Minister of the UK is not the same as the Prime Minister or the President of Canada, right? So it's the same. You're not in competition, and you do have a calling. And when you actually realize that you are made for a specific reason, and that every challenge you've gone through is equipping you to slay your calling, you'll stop watching other people, and you'll realize that, oh my gosh, I am an icon. Oh my gosh, I am a rock star, and you can live that life that you want and inspire the people that you're meant to inspire, because they're not gonna listen to anyone else.
Exactly. And I love that we're talking about this. And, that's part of what I talk about. Like, for those who don't know, I'm the impact mentor. And I talk about how we all have a divine mission. We all have a divine message. And, my job is to help you pull that message out and wrap it into content and do whatever you need to do with it. But ultimately, it's that belief that I have something to say. This is the thing that God has told me to say. This is this is my mission. This is my thing that I'm supposed to do. And I don't talk about this very often, but I had just got through telling Shaneil before we started recording, just me building this whole podcast thing was divine. And when I built it, I didn't tell anybody about it. I didn't tell my business friends. Nobody knew that I was making this podcast. I said it was me, God, and a Google document. And I literally wrote down everything that I wanted this podcast to look like logistic wise. I wrote down everything how I wanted to intake guests, how I was going to introduce them to the podcast, the process. Girl, I was so rigid. I'm very laid back now, but I used to make everybody sign agreement forms and things like that. And I had the packet and all the other stuff. But I say all that to say was that because I did not allow myself to become influenced or conditioned to anybody else's process, because I didn't I didn't go like, oh, I want to start a podcast, which we've been conditioned to do because we want to start something new. Let me go find a guru that's already done it. And so we'll go and see how they do something and what their process was. But the problem is that was their mission. That was their intuition that you're looking at. So you ignore your own intuition to go look at their intuition instead of looking at allowing yourself to be intuitive first. So I didn't go join someone's email list to see how to build a podcast. I didn't go and get the checklist that you need to have. So the 5 steps that you need to start a podcast. I didn't do any of those things. I literally just typing, computer, God, mind, intuition, typed.
Yeah.
I built it from scratch. I did everything, the branding, the colors, the platform, where I wanted to go, everything. I did everything. It wasn't until season 2, guys. This is, so next month would mark a full year of my podcast. And yay, I just said that out loud. And so for those who are listening later, September 2019 will be the 1 year anniversary of me starting my podcast. And it wasn't until almost a year later that I went and actually downloaded someone's checklist. And I was like, oh, well, let me just see if I could do some things. Everything on that checklist, I had done it already.
Wow.
And it's stuff like that, guys, that will blow your mind. If you allow yourself to be intuitive, if you allow yourself to just listen to yourself first. And there's another episode guide that I'm going to link into this episode, and where I says it's the impact of having the courage to follow your own ideas. We kind of talk about this, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's listen to yourself first. Even though you're entering a new field, the thing that you're doing that you want to do is something that you've never done before. You're still an expert. Why? Because you're entering a new field to share an expertise in something else. You're still an expert. You know what you're talking about. You know what you're doing. So allow yourself to just, like Shaneil says, just be.
Yeah.
Just be.
It's true. And I think like, even when you talked about like intuition and everything, most times, when people think about intuition, they think, oh my God, I need to like do something to make me hear my intuition. And the truth is that your intuition is always talking to you. It's never stopped talking to you. It's like I said, you have contracts versus conditioning. When you came in this world, your soul has been like, hey, go left, do that thing. Like your soul has always been directing you to where you need it to be. And the problem is that the reason sometimes we don't hear it is that we have too much noise around us, right? We have like what our mom says, what our dad says. It's kind of like if you're in a room and let's say you're trying to watch the TV, but then the radio is blaring and then like a siren is passing outside and then your cousin's on the phone talking really loud and then like people are having a party while you're trying to watch that show, you won't be able to hear it. You don't need to turn up the TV. Like it's already on max. What you need to do is like tell your mom, like, okay, mom, can you like chill with that phone call? Can you take it to another room? Like get rid of the fears and the limiting beliefs that you learned from mommy. It's like, hey dad, can you like stop with the music? Like I'm watching this show here. That's the limiting beliefs that you learn from your dad, whatever that means, whether it's that you're not good enough or whatever, your partner, your exes, whatever, like all these people in the room, you need to be like, hello, please leave, and once you start to turn down the noise, after you kind of hear all the intuitive hits that were already there start to come forward clearly. And, I like using Jesus as an example because before he became the Jesus that we know and love today, like he went into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. He's like, I don't want to hear nobody's voice. Like, he's like, I'm out there. And he could distinguish his true voice versus the voice of the lies, because best believe the devil was up in the wilderness with him, trying to tempt him, right? But he could distinguish the truth that he knew from the lies, right? So your dad might not be in the room anymore, but you're still hearing and thinking about like, but my dad taught me this, or but my ex taught me that, or, my mom said this when I was growing up, or whatever teacher told you that you weren't smart enough. And because you are now turning down the noise, you can differentiate your true voice from the lies of these other people who, and you know what, it's not to bash them or judge them, because most times they're just living out of their own conditioning. So they've been conditioned and they're just trying to put that on you. So when you realize that, you also don't hate them because or have any ill will against them, because you realize that they're just living out of their wounds as well. They're living out of their own conditioning. So it's important, guys, like you realize your intuition, you don't have to like go activate it. It's there. It's like, turn down the noise. Sometimes that can happen as well by going in your version of the wilderness. Maybe that means going by the beach, going into nature, going by, somewhere where you're in nature. And I did this process last week, Saturday as well, or was it? I don't know. It wasn't Saturday. It was one day. I have days off during the week. It was one of the days off that I had during the week. And I just put down my phone for 20 minutes. And I set a timer. And on the final minute, that was when this big insight came to me of something that I'm supposed to do in my business. And I was just like, wow. And it only happened because I allowed myself to put down my phone for 20 minutes, guys. 20 minutes. My soul already knew it wanted to take my business to that level, but I would have never allowed myself to receive that clarity because I was, scrolling or watching this video or doing whatever thing, reading whatever thing. So sometimes you've got to go into your own little wilderness and allow yourself to get those divine insights, because God's always talking to you, always, 24/7. So.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a small break here really quick, but I want to leave on this point because when we come back, we're going to dip into something a little bit. I don't know how everybody's going to take it, but we're going to be talking about our inner goddess and, how that's connected to our feminine energy and all this other great stuff. And I really want to get into this a little bit next time, but a great resource to just kind of end on what we're talking about right now would be to go back and listen to the other episode, having the courage to follow your own ideas, but then also I'm making a recommendation for a book. So there's a book called Learning to Discern the Voice of God, and it is written by her last name is Shires. I'm going to have the first name, but it'll be down in the description. Oh gosh, I know her name. Anyway, but that book will be linked, but she has a really great book and she talks about what Shaneil literally just said about taking the time to spend time with God and listening, like just shut your trap, turn off your phone, stop thinking, stop everything, and just allow that quiet time for God to talk to you, because he's talking to us all the time. And that book is very detailed and very helpful and very connective and showing you like how the things that you can do to kind of prepare yourself and open yourself up to receive the voice of God so that you can be in tune with ideas and divine downloads that he gives you. You'd be surprised what you can do that you didn't think you could do when God tells you to do something. Just being obedient is a powerful thing. So, all right. So we'll be right back. Okay, ladies, that is it. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and share and comment. Tag me on Instagram at The Impact Mentor or at Position to Impact. Check out all the links mentioned in today's episode in the show notes below and become part of the Royal Family Patreon today at patreon.com/Position to Impact.